I'm going to turn over this card, and I want you to tell me what you think it is. If you guessed it was the Ghostbusters Plasma Pack, you might have ESP abilities. If you thought it was something different, though... Welcome to the Bog Toys and Collectibles, where today we're going to bust open the Ghostbusters Plasma Pack from Hasbro and see what kind of awesome, extraordinary things are inside of the package here. And of course, it does come in this nostalgia-inducing VHS cassette-inspired box. As you can see, right next to the original VHS Columbia Pictures TriStar release, they've done a pretty good job of matching it. Except instead of where we originally had the actors' names at the top, we do get the individual characters' names there. And then even on the back, they've continued that inspiration with the photos, even have that nice red border around it. So pretty cool how they've done that. And it's not the first time that Hasbro's done a VHS-inspired box art. I think we saw that with Spider-Man Retro and X-Men. So it's cool to see them continuing on with that. And they do come in at about the same size as the Plasma series. So those would look good on a shelf together. So that's pretty awesome stuff. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and unleash these busters from their containment unit. So here we go with a super fast unboxing. Alright, there we go. We got these guys all out of their boxes, ready to be inspected. And super cool. As I said, we've been waiting a long time to see some 3.75-inch Ghostbusters. I've even gone as far as trying to make my own resin version of the Kenner Peter Venkman here. It's a little bit rough around the edges, but did the job for now. But I think I'm ready to get rid of that now that I've got a set of these guys right here. So very cool. Let's get into the articulation on them. So they do, as I mentioned, have that G.I. Joe style O-ring articulation. With the exception of the head. The head just has the left and right kind of Kenner style rotation. Of course, with the original G.I. Joe figures, they had a bit of an up and down, swivel to side, like ball joint style. So they've forgone that for the just left to right articulation. And then the shoulders, we do get a hinge pin style of joint. So you can get lots of different positions with the arm. And they're nice and tight too, so you don't have to worry about it moving around too much. And of course, we do get that bicep swivel, or the swivel arm battle grip, as they were originally referred to when G.I. Joe started doing that, which kind of separated the newer G.I. Joes from the straight arm style. And then, of course, we've got that O-ring style waist, so you can twist it left and right, and stays nicely in place there. Of course, O-rings have a tendency to stretch out over time, so it never hurts to get yourself a big bag of these. They're not too expensive, so you'll be able to replace them. But hopefully, they'll last decades like a lot of the G.I. Joes have. A little bit of articulation at the legs there. It doesn't really go out to the side too much, but you can get a little bit of movement there. And then last but not least, we've got the knee joint, which is nice and tight, and it feels like it's not really going to go anywhere. Now these do come in at the same scale, of course, as G.I. Joes and Star Wars, and you can actually use the display stands from a vintage Star Wars. They fit nicely in the peg holes on the feet, so that's kind of cool to see. They're not included, but they're pretty easy to get yourself a set of those. As far as accessories go, they do come with 3 accessories and 4 proton packs. So let's start off here with the ecto goggles, as seen worn by Rey in this rotation here. So the Ecto goggles are, yeah, they're pretty basic. A little tricky to get on at first, but can definitely be done with a little bit of coercion. No paint application on those, but they're still cool to see. Next up, we have Peter Venkman with my favorite accessory, the Ghost Trap. They really have gone above and beyond to get this accessory to be exactly like it is in the film. I like how they even used the seam of the mold to get that trap door opening seam. It kind of looks like it's naturally there. And then on this side, we've got a little bit of hit of a red paint there too. So I feel like most of the money was spent on the Ghost Trap here as far as the accessories. But anyway, last but not least, we've got Egon here with his PKE meter. Lots of detail on the sculpt here as well. And then one paint hit with the silver on each antenna that kind of sticks out there. So very cool. And of course, these accessories are interchangeable with other 3.75 inch figures, including, say, you want to give one of these guys a backpack. It's got the exact same size screw hole on the back here. So let's say you want to get Winston to wear a military style backpack. Boom, there you go. He's off to battle with that. And then vice versa. Let's say Hardball wants to go bust some ghosts. Bada bing, bada boom. He's got the plasma pack, just like that. Pretty cool stuff. But let's switch it back over. Yeah, the proton packs are definitely really detailed, done really nicely. They come separated like this, so you'll just want to slide that piece into place when you first get them. A little tricky to do, but definitely doable. And then the Neutrona wand does fit nicely in the hands. I find that the hand sculpt is angled just enough where it looks natural when they're holding that. Paint application, really great job on them. I was super impressed. You can see the name tags here are pretty much as clear as you could imagine. You can read those names like perfectly on there. Yeah, and then the Ghost logo on the side. No complaints to that. Very crisp. Looks just perfect. The paint on the gloves and the boots is a really nice glossy kind of black paint, which I think gives the boots a cool leathery type of look, and the gloves look really rubbery. So excellent job with that. We even got a little hit of yellow paint for the kind of catheter tube there. But yeah, super cool stuff. The head sculpts are as good as you can imagine they would be at this scale. They've outdone themselves, I think, to make sure they look exactly like the actors back in the 80s. I guess my only thing is Egon, his glasses, they look a little bit weird. They kind of smeared on the sides. I feel like they could have added a little bit more depth or even a separate piece for the glasses. But that's my only complaint about the head sculpts there. As far as the bodies go, they do each have the exact same body sculpt, with the exception of Peter Venkman. You can see here he's got untucked pant legs, just like he'd have in the movie. He's kind of more of the laid-back guy, so doesn't want that military-style tucked-in boots. But yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like you're getting four of the same figures, especially since the original Kenner line, we had so much variation between each of the figures. Like, you know, some of them are a little bit heavier and some are a little lighter, taller. So that, you know, it would have been nice to see a bit more variation in the bodies so that you're not feeling like you're just buying four of the exact same figures. But that's okay. They definitely works well enough for our purposes, I think. Posing is really nice. Like I said, all the joints are nice and tight. I guess the only thing is with the elbows here, if you bend them, you get a bit of a split on the elbow pad. But I guess there's really no way to get around that. So not a big deal there. And, of course, these are, again, on the same scale as, say, G.I. Joes. So let's see how these guys would look next to a G.I. Joe. There's long range there. Their heads are a little bit smaller than G.I. Joe's, so, like, the helmets don't really fit perfectly on the Ghostbusters, but it still gets on there regardless. And then here's a X-Wing pilot Luke, so you can see the side-by-side comparison with the vintage Star Wars figure there. But definitely cool to be able to interchange accessories, and of course you could always use some vehicles from other lines as well. Let's say you wanted to give the Ghostbusters a little more firepower, for example. You could bust out, let's say, the Hiss tank from G.I. Joe and just pop somebody in the turret here. And if you wanted to even put somebody in the cockpit, let's take Egon here and take off his proton pack, and he just fits nice, perfectly in here. And you can even close that tightly, and there you go, Egon with Ray on the back, and they are ready to go. Say Stay Puft Marshmallow comes now, he's no match for the Ghostbusters with their high intensity firepower. Maybe they could retrofit this with some plasma rays, who knows. So pretty cool stuff. Price point, these are retailing for about $64.99 Canadian or $44.99 US dollars, and we do currently have them in stock at thebog.com. So for all your pre-owned and new action figure requirements, you can always visit us there. Our courteous and knowledgeable staff are on call 24 hours to help with your action figure needs. We'll believe you. But yeah, I think that's all we got for today. I definitely appreciate everybody tuning in. And until next time, remember, if the light is green, the trap is clean. All right. Thanks again, guys. Have a good one.